Hello everyone, welcome to my art studio. It's lovely to have you here in my home. So today, because we're kind of all stuck at home and we want to keep ourselves busy, I thought it would be fun to do just a very simple, easy project called a Spattering Inspirational Painting Project. So if you have these materials at home, go ahead and give it a try. If you want to try your own version of it with whatever materials you do have at home, that would be great too. What you're going to need for this project is just a white sheet of paper. Mine is 9 by 12 inches, but again, you can use whatever kind of paper you have at home. You're going to need some painter's tape. Hopefully you have some from a previous project. You could try using masking tape, but it sometimes rips the paper, so this is like the best tape to use. You're going to need a Sharpie or some sort of marker, but really you can use anything. You could use a colored pen, you could use colored pencils. So again, whatever you have at home to do this, the more creative you get, the better. And then we are going to do some painting, so you're going to need any sort of paints that you have and some brushes and a cup of water. All right, let's go ahead and get started. You're going to start by just taking some tape and you're just going to randomly make some different designs. You don't want to stick it on press too heavy, because you want to be able to take it off pretty easy. And you're just going to make some random sections on your paper by putting the tape in different angles. Okay, all right, so now that I have my paints poured, I just like to use a paper plate at home because it's easy to get rid of if you have these. Otherwise, if you have a palette, you could use that, or wax paper works like a really good palette. So now I'm going to have to decide what colors do I want in each section, or do I want to paint them all the same color and then do the spattering on top. So I'm going to kind of mix it up a little bit. And I also might go from like one color into another color. You want to use a pretty thick brush, and you want to use some water. You also can go right into the tape, which is the nice part about this project. So you don't have to worry about being neat. You can also do like an ombre effect. So I'm going from purple to like a pink color. And the way that you blend them is you just add some water in the middle to blend them together. You can also, if you've been in my classes, you can also add white to make a tint of a color. So you can make a color a little bit lighter by adding white to it. You can make a color darker by adding black to it. All right, so I really like the way that first one turned out. And as I'm going through this, I'm going to have to make sure I think about what colors I'm using in each section, and then also what colors I'm going to use to spatter, because I don't want, I want the spatter to show. So I got to make sure that I think about that ahead of time. I think I'm going to leave that one just a blue color. And then I think I'm going to stick with cool colors for my background, which are your blues and your greens, and your magenta's kind of an in-between color. And then for the spattering, I'll use warm colors, and I think that's going to look really cool. So for this section, again, anytime it gets a little too thick, just add some water to spread it out, and don't worry about going over the lines. That's what the tape is there for. I think I'm going to go into blue for this last part. So I'm blending my teal with my blue, Again, you could just make these all solid, so it's just really a matter of preference, but I like the way they look when they're gradiated from one color to the next. I think in that little tiny section on top, I'm gonna go ahead and make that just a magenta color. And then I might do some repeating, so I might do the same thing I did up there down here. All right, so that's kind of the background step. And then once you do that, you're gonna want to then go ahead and add in your spattering. That could be with a couple different methods. I'm gonna use some yellows and bright colors, and maybe even some white on top. And the way that you can do that is you wanna have your brush pretty wet. And I'm gonna start with some yellow, and I'm gonna put it on the end of my brush and get my brush wet. And you could do just where you tap the table. Now be careful if you're doing this, because you don't want to get it on your clothes, even though I am getting it on my clothes. You could also take another brush and tap that brush on top of the other brush, and that's going to make all the spattering go. I kind of like just the yellow, so I think I might stick with that. The trick is you want to make sure your brush is pretty wet so that the paint spatters. So as I was saying, the next part is you kind of have to let it dry all the way before you peel off the tape. And I know a lot of us like to go nuts with getting things done right away, and we can be impatient, but you're gonna have to wait to let it dry, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like when we peel off the tape and put in our inspirational words. So be back in a minute, guys. Okay, now that my painting is dry, I'm going to go ahead and start peeling off the tape. You want to go very slowly and carefully so that you don't rip your paper. And also, you want to start with the tape that is on top and work your way backwards. Some of my paint leaked into underneath the tape a little bit, And that's okay, I think it'll still look cool. That probably happened because the tape wasn't pressed down enough on those edges. So it's okay, everything. I always say that in art, sometimes the accidents actually make the art look better. Okay, so there's one. And then let's get this piece off here. It looks really cool when it's all done. You just got to be careful that you don't rip the paper. So you want to take your time with this part and go really slow. And then you want to start thinking about what inspires you, because the last step is going to be to add quotes in. Not necessarily quotes, just words that inspire you, especially at this time when we're uncertain of what's going to happen. It's always nice to get inspired and keep creating, because that's what's going to get us through this. All right. So now I'm going to take my little words that I put together. So I kind of played around with it. You're gonna have to take your time. This is the most important part, is coming up with your words. When you put words in an artwork, it could change the whole artwork. It could make it really important, and it could make it more meaningful to you. So really choose your words carefully. All right, so of course, one of my inspirational words is going to be create. And I think I'm going to put that right in the middle. You can write in cursive or in your regular handwriting. Cursive always looks nice with this project too. Another important phrase I put in was follow your heart. I think that's important in these times too. And just kind of see like where it would fit the best. So you might even like turn your paper around so that you can write in the angles that you created with your tape. All right guys, so we are all done with this project, and this is what my final project looks like. I'm pretty happy with it. I hope you had fun in creating it as much as I did. And just keep in mind, this was to inspire you to keep creating as much as you can. I know that for me, it makes me feel better when I make things, and I think that it can inspire you to get through some hard times and dealing with anxiety and all that good stuff. So we will see you next time. Thanks.